Do you struggle figuring out a plan for fitness? Do you struggle and stress out about parenting? I think there's a correlation. We're going to look at parenting and fitness today. So parenting, fitness, hit the music. This is Justin Westmoreland, and you're listening to the Fully Alive podcast, where we integrate physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual relational health so that we can become a fully alive community together. Love that theme song, don't you love it? Okay, hey, we're back again, Fully Alive, episode 13. We're taking a break from our series, the Fully Alive 10 Commandments. We've looked at don't be gullible. We looked at read the label. We've looked at don't waste my time. Now we're going to take a detour for a brief moment, and we're going to look at parenting and how I believe that parenting really is instructive and a great analogy for what we do in the gym. Now, you might think, why is this guy wearing a number? Okay, I've got a number on my shirt here. Looks like I'm number 729. This is crazy. This is a small 5K. I ran a 5K this morning with one of my friends. I run about once a year, so this is I'm no runner, so I got out there and ran with one of my friends this morning. It was for charity. We had a good time, finished the race. That's a big accomplishment. Didn't walk at all, so felt good about that. But look, you can't be a good runner just running once a year. You're barely struggling, you're barely getting by, you're hanging on. If you want to be optimized and you want to do the best you can and be healthy in running and succeeding, you got to train those patterns. If you're going to run 100 meters, you need to train for 100 meters. If you're going to run a 5K, train for a 5K. If you're going to run a half marathon, your training's got to look different. Your design and what your goal is matter for what you do. So I had no illusions of actually succeeding in this 5K this morning, because I was just doing what I wanted to do. I was, doing what I do, which is, more high intensity interval training, a little bit of plyo. I do plyometrics for my legs one day a week, strength training a heavy day one day a week, and then core and upper body now. That's what I'm working on the off days. So I'm not ready to run. So just doing what you want to do or doing something completely different from what you're actually going to compete in does not get you anywhere. So thinking about parenting, is there a right way to train? Is there a philosophy that's going to give you potential to succeed? Is there a right and wrong way? A lot of people out there want to tell you it is. A lot of people want to say, feel guilty about this because you're not doing it the right way. What spurred this episode on was an article I came across this week that someone shared. It's called Toddlers Meltdown in Brain Development, Why Parents Need to Ditch Traditional Discipline. So they're advocating no discipline. Just come alongside the kid. Let the kid direct things. I think that's a terrible idea, honestly. I think it's a really bad idea. It can lead to disaster because we need structure. We need to learn authority, and we need to learn that there's a design here, and we don't determine it. We're radically self-interested. I came across a psalm this week, Psalm 3, where it says, my enemies try to tell me there is no salvation in my God. They want to tell me that God can't help you. And I think that's the thing I want to hear. I in my sin nature want to hear that I am sufficient and that God is not. And so when we think about parenting and what our goal is, we got to listen to God, and we got to think about His way, and that we're not sufficient for it. We're all products of His mercy. And we're designed by Him. He's the potter, we are the clay. And so we're thinking about don't be gullible. We need to listen to someone who knows. And so you can't let your kids direct you, is the goal here. But they're going to tell you in this article that there's good and bad ways to do it. And they're going to say, hey, the disciplined way is not the best way. And what they're getting at is the absolute inability of laws and structure to change a person's heart. And that's actually a biblical concept. That's in our world. We're frustrated all the time because we make rules and we make diets and we break them. And until you have an affection or a bigger vision for your fitness, or for your kids, you're not going to be able to stick to the hard method that you got to take in order to get to where you want to be. And for your kids, you got to think about they need a structure, they need a plan, and it's not about you as the parent. It's not about me. It's about forming in them godly character and helping them to know the presence, the power, and the control of God and the wisdom of God in their lives and to trust in Christ. This is the best goal for our parenting. When we think about it, why do we get frustrated? We get mad because our kids are not meeting our expectations because we feel like we're owners and not ambassadors. That's Paul Tripp's first principle in his book called Parenting. Simply put, parenting. So we're gonna link both to the toddlers, meltdowns, and brain development, and why parents need to ditch traditional discipline. And then we're gonna have what I think is a better corrective, which is 14 principles in the Paul Tripp book, Parenting. It's not a roadmap. It's not a cookie cutter list. It's not a recipe on how to make your kids what you want them to be. It's just 14 great principles from his experience and from the Bible that will help us to do a better job. So we're not owners of our kids, we're ambassadors. They're gifted to us, and we're to be the primary instrument of soul transformation. We get to be an instrument in God's hands to form our daughters and sons into a soul that loves God and loves people. This is our design. So thinking through that, that's an exciting calling. It's a holy calling. It's a special calling. So parenting, just like in life, we have a tendency to want to go the path of least resistance. And don't be the guy who just shows up at the 5K, doesn't train. Don't be the parent who hasn't thought about this, because both those guys kind of feel guilty, honestly. You know you could have done better. You know there's a lot of voices out there telling you you're doing it wrong. Look, you're not doing it wrong. Look, taking somebody else's principles and trying to superimpose them on you is crazy, because everyone's kid's different, every parent's different, every situation's different. You might have a stay-at-home mom, you might have a single parent home, you might have kids that are different challenges in your family. You might have a solo kid, only child. You might have 10 kids. Every situation is going to be a little bit different. Every community is going to be a little bit different. So it's good to have broad, general principles and to be able to apply them flexibly to the situation. So we want to have a fixed parenting idea of what the point is, and in fitness, a fixed big goal, which we believe is to act according to God's design so that we might be fully alive and giving life to our community. And then having that and flexibly applying it to the situation, to the individual, with our experiences. So that's kind of, in general, that's what we do here, is we want to look at different issues and bring great principles in order to become a healthier person, healthier community, and a community that can really encourage one another toward life and towards Christ, ultimately. So that's where we are. So that's our spiel for today. We're going to look at parenting and fitness. So one of the things that really hit me in this article I was reading was just the utter lack of ought. They can't tell us what we need to be doing, because the premise of the article is that we have evolved over millions and millions and millions of years, and that we were, as human beings, on four legs at one time, so hands and feet, crawling, and then we have evolved to where we are two-leg, upright walkers, right, over time. And when that happened, the theory goes, is that when we moved to 2 feet, women who were giving birth, they had to give birth quicker. So they weren't able, the gestation period where the brains developed, it wasn't able to last as long. So you had all these kids coming out, not fully formed. And so that was their explanation of why kids are so difficult to parent. And I was like, well, okay, so brain development, all the frontal lobe, everything like that, it doesn't form. Science shows that it doesn't fully form, doesn't finish until around 30. And then incidentally, your brain starts diminishing after around 30 or 27 or thereabouts, where you hit your prime, and you start to lose a little bit of your ability, but you don't really hit your prime until that mid 20s to late 30. Well, so they're saying, hey, stop judging the kids, stop trying to discipline them, because hey, their brains just aren't fully developed. So yeah, don't mess with them like that. Don't try to exert your muscle over them in order to fit them into some box, but learn alongside them, grow with them, become a better person. That's what the article's saying. Well, look, if that is the case, if that's our worldview, that hey, we evolved and there's no real rhyme or reason for this, but these are impersonal forces, and it's just some human beings making it, and other lesser evolved human beings not making it. Well, there's just there's no ethic that can develop from that. There's no, hey, you need to do it this way or that way. No, the only way you can have a good or bad view of parenting is if there is a God and a standard, a holy standard that is out there above us, and not just, hey, we're just making it up as we go in order to figure out the best way here. We're not making up our own way. We have a vision from God of what this ought to look like. Okay, so thinking through that, you got to wrestle with that. If there is no God and His providence governing all things, and He created us, as we talked about last time, in His image for a purpose to glorify Him, and that's what I would say is the very basis that energizes me in the gym and in parenting, is that there's regularity, there's glory, there's potential because of the way God's designed us to thrive and to flourish if we go according to His design. There's principles out there that we can adapt because of God's rule over all of His world, His creation, and us. Then we can start to say, hey, this is the way it ought to be done. Instead of just kind of cobbling together our own opinions, because if we're cobbling together what we like, it's going to get ugly. We're going to start believing things. We're going to start being gullible. We're going to start listening to the voices that are easiest for us, right? And it is so easy not to discipline. It's so easy. We're tired. We got jobs, we got responsibilities beyond parenting, and we're just gonna give up. We're gonna let the kids run wild, let them have the iPad, and go to town, because we're tired. Well, the difficult thing is to parent with intentionality and hard work and discipline, and to form character in the children. It is so hard. So I'm one who's been there. I'm with you. If you're young and having your first babies and toddlers, let me give you one example. You might want to think, well, hey, the baby starts crying, and you feel like, hey, I got to do something here. I've got to help the baby. Well, from what I understand, babies cry. They cry themselves to sleep, and they learn to soothe themselves and go to sleep. So you can have two views of this: kid-directed or parent-directed. If it's kid-directed, you go and you feed the kid whenever the kid cries. But if it's parent-directed, you're putting the kid on a structure with an authority structure and a situation where he or she can flourish because they start to fit that schedule. So it's limiting the freedom actually leads to more flourishing. Where you put them on a schedule, they start to go to bed at a regular time, start sleep at a regular time, eating at regular times, and that's a healthy flow of life. Like you think about our own adult lives, as we work 6 days, we rest 1 day, and that's the way to flourish. We don't know what to do if we don't work. We feel listless, and then we run ourselves in the ground if we only work and we don't rest. So there's a healthy balance to life that we can instill in our children to where they can flourish. I see kids all the time coming out of the middle school, and I pick up my kid, and they look exhausted. And I see that with my kid when he doesn't get enough sleep. If you don't get the rest you need, you're exhausted. And so part of our problems is if we don't put our kid on a schedule, then we're going to see more and more dysfunction, more and more acting out, right? Not that we need any help with that, because we all can act out. We all are self-centered and sinners from birth, actually. I know it's going to be controversial, but if you've got questions on that, we can talk about it. What is the condition that we were born into? Are we selfish, sinful, and interested in only ourselves from the very beginning, or do we learn that? I'm going to argue that the Bible teaches that is the case for us, that we are born into sin, and from the moment we can express it, we exhibit rebellion against God and violence and hatred towards others. We are about us, and that's where we are. So thinking through that, if there's just mindless, no God governing this place, we have no right to impose any other view on us. And we got to stop feeling guilty. But if there is a God, there's a right way, we can stop feeling guilty because we are merely instruments in His hand, and we can do our best and rely upon His grace and His mercy. And really, at the end of the day, the gospel is going to be the thing that is going to drive us and empower us. And that's what we've got to form in our children as well. A reliance upon God's presence, power, control, and wisdom in our lives. We want to form that. So that's where we are. We got two different ways of looking at it. We got an ought. The only way we can think about it as ought is if this God does exist and the Bible's true. And that's the same way. And the same way we've got to reject thinking that there's an ought or we don't feel guilty if we don't believe in God. If we don't believe in a transcendent truth or objective standard. If you don't believe in that, don't let people tell you what to do. Because act that out consistently and just do what you think and see how that goes. Hey, can you imagine if I were in the gym training someone and I show up to meet them and I was like, hey, what do you want to do today? What do you think? What would be what thing that you want to do? That's essentially what this parenting article is saying. Let's just let you develop naturally. Well, that's not what we need. We need actual guidance and wisdom from above, expertise, leading the trainee or the child into the design. We want to see something develop here, not just leave them to themselves. That's the whole reason I was out of shape at the age of 35, is simply making bad decisions and doing it my own way and listening to no one else and no other voices and sort of only listening to ones that seemed to be comfortable and things I wanted to do. But when I was forced to do things that were uncomfortable, that's when growth came. And so thinking about listening to other voices, again, get the Paul Tripp book, Parenting. It's going to be in the notes below. It's going to be in the notes on Anchor, iTunes, YouTube, on our YouTube channel. You can email me if you need help on that. The Fully Alive Podcast at gmail.com. So thinking of that. We'll end with one more section here on how a few principles that we can take and use this week. All right. So to close here, the article we're referencing. Love the idea. Fascination with toddlers, fascination with kids. Kids are amazing, but they're sinners. I'm a sinner too. I am not a perfect parent. And this is where we got to get beyond law, not eschewing the law. Law is good, structure is good, but we've got to get to grace. And when we attempt to parent by grace without God, we're going to make things worse. You see, the anxiety of the parent trying to discipline his or her child and seeing that it doesn't work is going to be compounded when you tell people new law. Hey, do it this way and it'll work. Look, law can't work. Law doesn't change the heart, which is the key. We're worshipers. We invest our mind, our soul, our talents in what we most desire. And if that's our own self-interest, then that's going to be destructive. When we get to the point where we look at other people as means for our advancement, which is kind of what we're doing when parenting and demanding our kids be a certain way sometimes, that is destructive, and that's using other people. So when we're thinking about law and grace, we can't just make the law less. Hey, get down on the level of the kid and make it a little more agreeable for us. We're simply lowering the deal. So here's what we got to do. It's not just giving them a new law that's going to change them. It's about what happens when we come to the end of ourselves and we're like, hey, I can't change anybody. We've got to rely on the mercy and grace of God. We need the law again for rules, for structure, to show us God's design, and it can reveal our sin and our weakness and our failure, and that's what discipline does. But we got to point people and ourselves and our children to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Grace never says, hey, just be bad. As Paul Tripp says in his book, grace never calls wrong right. If wrong were right, then there would be no need for grace. But because we're not right, because we're lost, because we're all lost, even us parents, we need to move toward grace with wisdom and guidance. And what that is we were so lost that Jesus Christ had to take on flesh and live in our place and then die upon a cross for us to atone for our sins, rebellion, and lostness. And that we can be forgiven through faith. There is forgiveness for our sins when we look to Jesus and trust in Him and turn from our own selfish ways and go to Him. And that's what it is. We're setting up our children for more anxiety when we teach them that the way to success is law keeping. No, the way to success is by acknowledging God's lordship and His design. And that's the very same way with health. There's no easy way. There's absolutely no easy way where just eschewing discipline is going to get us there. If you want to succeed in the 5K, train for the 5K. If you need help on that, if you want to get into running, I've got some wisdom on that too. I've been there. I've made the mistakes. I've learned. If you want to increase your strength, your performance, if you want to lose weight, there are plans. There is wisdom. There's discipline that is needed for that. You can't take the easy road and just think, well, it's going to work out. It's just going to work out. And that's why these kind of articles are damaging, because they're saying, hey, there's no real ought here. The ought is just let it develop. Well, when we just let things develop, it doesn't go well. We need a lot of structure and discipline. So when you're thinking about your kids, hey, they're a work in progress. We're all works in progress, and we're working on it together. So as we get through several more episodes here, we're going to have some real parents in varying stages of life on to talk about this. We had a guest plan for this week, but it didn't work out. So tune in for more of that, and we're going to get back to stories of transformation next week, of intense spiritual and physical transformation, and then we'll come back to commandment number 4, which is dealing with rest for growth, in a few weeks. So that's where we are. If you like the podcast, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Those are all things that really help us on YouTube. But we have 8 other platforms that you can subscribe to and follow us as well. So if you want to know what we're doing, what's going on, subscribe. Look us up on social media, the Fully Alive Podcast, on Instagram, and also on Facebook. And we're going to be putting out some content this week. We're looking at a live event too, coming up in Norman, possibly late summer. So we'll keep you up to date on that. We want to see you live in the house so we can demonstrate some more things. Hey, one fitness tip for the week for you guys, and it's posted on my actual Instagram personal page, which is at Justin Westmo. If you look it up, one simple thing to do to get a good full body cardio workout in about 10 minutes, take a medicine ball. I use a 20-pound medicine ball, and a lot of times I teach people to slam the ball down, but a great way to really see the full body develop is to take the ball. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate real quick. Take the ball right here, get in the jump position, and then jump up and throw the ball as high as you can. You want high ceilings or be outside for this. And just repeatedly do that. About 10 reps, take a little break, come back to it, and you're throwing the ball. You're getting core, legs, upper body, the whole thing, and you're getting cardio, because it's pretty exhausting to keep picking the ball up, throwing the ball in the air, picking it up again, throwing it again. And it's way more fun than getting on a treadmill. Okay, way more fun than just going for 30 minutes on a treadmill. So I figure out a good ball for you. They've got various different sizes, all the way down to like 4 pounds up to like 20 pounds or above, and have a good time. Let me know how that goes. Put it in the comments if you like that. Go check it out at Justin Westmo at Instagram for a demonstration. So, hey, if you like content, let us know what you want to see on here. If you want more exercise demonstrations, eating tips, spiritual questions, we're going to get to it. But we are here to be a fully alive community integrating health in physical, mental, spiritual, relational health, so that we can grow together and produce life and health all over the place, not just here in Oklahoma, but all over the world. So, as we say every week at the end of the podcast, We were made to live fully alive, built to worship the living one, who is Jesus Christ. We'll see you next time on Fully Alive. God bless.